Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Both those things I'm happy to have earned, deservedly, I would like to say. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that collaboration over 2022 and 2021, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Good morning, Ryan Knight.
Good day, good day. And for those that may not know who Ryan Knight is, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, ACBN Canada for short. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage their business is in, and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I do run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile, waterless car cleaning. So we go to people's houses, their offices, clean their cars on the spot without using water, and our plant-based, eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And our season, I heard that next week is gonna kind of dip a little bit in the weather, but this week was beautiful.
Yeah, this week was car cleaning week.
I will take it when we get it. And also, I am rocking the PACU shirt, which stands for the Pan-African Credit Union. So if you want to see a Black-led and Black-serving financial institution come into being, please go to pacu.ca and put in your pledge, and you would actually become part owner of this new and upcoming credit union. So thank you.
You're welcome. What's been going on? Monday seems like such a long time ago for me.
Yeah, the days have been each day feels like an event now. But this week has been good. Yesterday, we were doing an info session led by Canadian Tire, talking about what it means to own a Canadian Tire store. So that was something that I didn't even know was a possibility, that they're independently owned. I thought it was all just corporate.
No. Actually, if you go into Canadian, and for people who are not from Canada or not aware, Canadian Tire is, I guess before Walmart came to Canada, and before Walmart, it was, what's the name of the store?
With Zellers?
No, Walmart. There was a store, and then Walmart took over. I can't remember the name.
Oh,
can't remember, but I guess before Walmart came and started to dominate in certain areas of Canada retail, there was this Canadian Tire, which has been around for at least 100 years now.
They just celebrated 100. Yeah,
100 years, and they've been basically the national retailer of probably non-clothing things, like things around the house. Especially they first got the name about auto car stuff. That's where they really started to make their footprints. And now, because Walmart came to Canada and other retail chains, they've expanded their product line. And it's funny. So when you go into a Canadian Tire store, if it is independently operated, the ones I went into, if I remember, it actually shows there's a plate, a little thing near the front showing owned and operated by.
Nice.
So it's like trying to remember was it Kresge's? I'm trying to remember the name of Walmart, but I'll do some research on it. But So what were some of the learning points from your end about that information?
Yeah, like the process to become an owner was interesting, where they do go through like a selection process. So you have to apply, but it's pretty straightforward to apply. And then once you get selected, you go through dealer training, which is interesting because you actually get posted at different locations at a certain point. So you might have to travel like across the country to be stationed at a location. And then I think they do 3 or 4 of those. So the dealers that came on, a gentleman named Max from Montreal, African gentleman that was
Oh,
he's owned it, I think 15 years now. He's owned
come
a store.
on.
So things that we had no idea. I feel like I have to head to Montreal just to meet him and say
That's
hi.
amazing. So he's been a stone ore for 15 years.
Yes. And another
Wow.
gentleman, Mo from Egypt, he came and he's recently got a store. So it was interesting to see kind of a long timer and a new one.
Yeah.
But Mo, he got stationed in a place called Deep River. So that's the one thing when you do become a store owner, they pick your first store and then you can move up and pick another store after. So it just, that was pretty interesting learning.
That would be okay. Well, just talking about Walmart in Canada, the chain that they took over basically was Woolco, WOLLC.
Wow.
They came in and took over like Woolco properties. It's going to be, man. Well, did you have good attendance for last night?
Yeah, we had about 55 registrations.
No.
30, I think we hit at one point. So
I would love. Unfortunately, I had a schedule conflict, but I would love to see. We need to get them on here.
I'll definitely make that request. I think that
would love
owners too.
That I can find.
Yeah,
that would be fascinating to get them on here. I to be honest, I've never met a melanated owner of a real retail chain store of that magnitude.
That makes two of us. So it's like, we have to definitely put a spotlight on these people. There's great business owners and store owners that are around but just doing their thing, because they're
staying under the radar.
Yeah.
It's like a few weeks ago, I was on a media panel for Centennial College. And I don't know if you've ever been on a panel and the people that you're on the panel with, you're going, what am I doing here? I should be in the audience.
More times than not.
Definitely. I had that feeling. One of the gentlemen was a non-melanated gentleman who had like 35 plus years in the Canadian film industry.
Okay.
And this guy, and he's a line producer. So people don't realize what So what his role is. People will come to him with projects and he will tell them if their budgets make sense or not.
Interesting.
And if they get the green light, his responsibility is to make sure that every cent of that project's budget is allotted for.
Okay.
Guy was his experience was absolutely phenomenal. And we've kept in touch after I've introduced him to one or two people that could be collaborating with, and and actually had a meeting earlier. But he said the two areas of the film industry that are dying for people: accountants, and set builders. If you're a tradesperson, you can get a job no problem in the film industry. And he said that he said basically they're like pulling people off the street to build sets, and within the next 90 days there's a threatened strike with the media writers in the Writers Guild of America. And if that happens, guess where all those productions are going to come to?
Okay, but set builders, and Ryan Singh had mentioned that construction kind of side of the industry.
Absolutely. Well, the demand is even higher than ever. So if anyone wants any sort of information on employment, get in touch with me. I can get you in contact with this gentleman. I'm introducing him to a person who runs an organization who has people who are looking for work in that area. So that is going to be magic.
Well, I could imagine just him for an hour.
Oh, he was phenomenal. Like on the pen, I was just going. But then another thing too, beside me was a melanated gentleman who is the line producer for Canada's Got Talent.
Okay.
Black gentleman, and we had and I say and he stays right under the radar.
Exactly, like those are all kind of behind the scenes.
It was the knowledge. I just sat there and listened, and I'm keeping in regular contact with both of them. There's another lady we're going to be following up in about 2 weeks. She produces TV commercials.
Solid. Oh man.
So getting into those spaces were just wow. It was just crazy Let's do some things here. Fitness IQ Cam is in the house. Good morning, gentlemen and folks.
Good day.
Trevor Dunlop, good morning. Yes, you are
Okay.
always here when our friend comes. Our friend of today is on. You're always making.
Nice.
And McMillan, good morning, Joe. No Frills in Malton is black owned or used to be, and there are a few others in the GTA. Actually, I had thanks Ray for speaking to. I'll say the name, to Richard Miller of Keep Six. I introduced both of them this week, which was wonderful. And then good morning, everyone, for the DMV area, and the Gala King. You have your official name now.
Yes. But this is where now people are inviting me to galas, but I don't feel like I do well at galas. Like when I'm just sitting and, you have to, I feel like I'm an undercover introvert. So at galas, you have to be ready for pictures and hugs and handshakes. It's like, I'd rather just be at home behind the computer working on my master plan. But I appreciate all the invites, and as best I can, I'll try to make it out. But yeah, I don't do well at galas.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I love that he's officially got the name Gala King. Christopher Lawrence, Dr. Vibrant Night. Good morning. I have to respond to your message from yesterday, Mr. Lawrence. And he says, I'm doing fine. I won't speak for the Night Empire. Happy spring. Well, we'll see. The temperatures are going to dip in the next few days.
No, I refuse to go back.
Divine Red says, wow. Are you off the hook now? When they officially get into my hand, yes, Mr. Lawrence, those cards. Yes, Raymond, I've heard of a no films that is black owned. All right.
And there was a Freshco in Brampton that was black owned that used to be by the Bramley City Center.
Okay.
Who's Mr. Oh, is that Cam?
That's you.
Thank you, Camille.
No, well, she's the celebrity. She's the EYL celebrity. And fitness, I'm the same, Ryan. Galas make me anxious. Why do they make you anxious?
Yeah, it's like too much more production. It's like
you
gotta be for the red carpet and all that.
Just that's a great FYI. A few other things. So, as always, if you want, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. If you do, also hit the notification button. Like it everywhere else: Facebook, Ryan's YouTube, Ryan's LinkedIn. All those things are there. We're going to have our friend coming on in a moment. He's just doing a refresh because he says we're freezing. Are we freezing on anyone's screens? Because I'm looking okay on mine.
Yeah, it seemed okay.
Okay, and also too, coming up this Monday, Divine Wright from the DMV is going to be on the Morning Vibe. She's going to be talking various things, sharing about self-publishing a book, talking about. I'm pretty sure too she'll be talking about her new book. So we got a bunch of things happening today. Just before Mr. Harris comes back to us, I guess one of the interesting things going on in the world of black media. Have you heard about this new movie coming out about Freaknik?
Oh boy! So I've seen a couple memes about it.
Yes,
so I guess it's gonna be a documentary.
Yes, produced by Jermaine Dupuis.
Yeah, some people, the sweat is starting to come down. They're like,
well, it's interesting.
Where was I in the 90s?
There are, I think, like 3 or 4 Black American women that are having a lawsuit. They want to prevent it from being released because they feel it's going to damage their reputations. And one of them is actually a judge.
Ooh, boy. And it was interesting because they'll say, Facebook kind of took hold in the mid 2000s, and people say like, oh, before Facebook, I used to do things that if it got caught on internet, I'd be doomed. That footage existed, so now it's getting onto the internet. It can be a disaster.
Well, in their lawsuit, they're claiming that they don't have the right to release these people's pictures because they didn't get authorization to do it. So
which is valid.
Absolutely.
I think Girls Gone Wild got canceled because of that too. It was just them taking footage and not getting waivers and all that.
McMillan Group, the shift needs to be made from starting business to buying businesses. Ability to scale and be more impactful much faster.
Absolutely, because look at that. Knowing that now you can buy into a brand like Canadian Tire. And I mean, people have their different opinions about Canadian Tire, but it is the staple of Canada in the retail space. And now you're getting trained on how to run a multi-million-dollar operation with thousands of SKUs. That type of training you really can't get just by starting your own thing. Like it takes you decades to get up to that kind of level where within 6 to 12 months you can be trained up.
Well, and it's a good point, Ryan. One of the things I share with people is if you're in the work environment, take the knowledge that they give you and see where you can apply it. Like many years ago, I used to work in the telecommunications industry, and you got so many webinars and teachings that, okay, how can I use this to benefit me?
Gotcha. Right. Like the professional development stuff.
Yes, all those things.
Okay. Yes.
How can you use it to propel your existence further? So I love going to those things and just learning about these things. So Divine Red says, IE can't wait till Monday.
Nice.
Fitness IQ is bad about how the old school documentary.
Oh boy.
And Christopher is saying that was an amazing presentation, Ryan. The gentleman Mo is incredible, and Max. So there you go.
Agreed.
Okay. Let's get to it. Mr. Harris is back. We're speaking that his tech is okay. And it's interesting for those who haven't, but the first Friday of every month we have I'm going to call him financial expert. Wayne Harris is with us. And we didn't have him last Friday because it was Good Friday. So he took some time off. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting subject about, how to handle the upcoming recession per se. And actually this topic was given to me by a few people live and offline. So this is really good to have Wayne in. Make sure, as always, family, have your questions. Fire away. Trevor says, great points you're making, gentlemen. Lifelong learning. Receive that. Well, let's get some lifelong learning from Wayne Harris.
Yes. Good to see you.
Good day.
Good morning.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you are. Are you using Wi-Fi?
I am plugged right into Ethernet, my friends, and this reboot
that's all right. Done. Okay, well, your audio is good. That's the most important thing. We're all ready to go. What's been going on with you?
Well, this is the post-parent era that I'm now in. So on March 10th, my father passed away.
Condolences.
He was sick for a while when we started this program. So March 10th, he passed away. We have done all the final arrangements, and he has been interned. And now we're moving into the next phase where, I am now patriarch, which is kind of
that's an evolution.
Yeah. So circle of life, right?
Yeah.
I think, Wayne, if you're up to it, I think it'd be a very good conversation talking about becoming a patriarch. Because
never heard that conversation.
My father is still alive, but basically he's passed all that to me now. So a lot of family decisions he's having me in on now. Like with younger relatives and all that. So I hear you. So I think that'd be because sometimes you are pushed into a patriarch role and you're not ready for it.
Could totally get that.
And another part too is sometimes, and people are living longer a lot these days. A lot of times kids aren't ready to take care of their parents.
Right. But that's so interesting because my dad's father passed away. And so he's become the patriarch. But I've never asked him that question, how he feels about now being what you're describing, Wayne, as the patriarch of the family. I think I should actually sit him down and see what's going through his mind. I'll ask you, what is going through your mind as now you're actually aware that you are now the patriarch of the family? What are some thoughts that you're dealing with?
Good question. Just knowing that there are no men ahead of me to sit at their feet and listen to the stories of when they were my age and when they were younger, coming up in the Caribbean and all those things. So I was downloading and digesting as much as I possibly could over the last 3 months in anticipation of this time happening. But I also know this. Your parents, sometimes, I'll speak for myself, I felt like he didn't want to do certain things that would have changed his life for the better.
Oh.
And what I've learned is he was incapable of doing those things. So it wasn't really a decision. It was the skill set was not there. And because he comes from a generation that doesn't really enlist mentorship, when he ran out of ideas, he ran out of ideas. Whereas when I run out of ideas, I enlist a rise and level up. So I find that generation to be very, very insular. They depend on themselves because they don't want anybody knowing they're vulnerable.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So
So
it was interesting.
All right, so if you, the family is sharing with Wayne here, saying, "My condolences, Mr. Wayne." Fitness IQ Cam. Trevor is saying, "Our deepest condolences to you, brother." Divine Right, hands up in prayer, saying also, "My deepest condolences, Wayne." And also Ray saying, "My condolences to you, Wayne, and your family." And Fitness IQ says, "This I understand to the fullest because she had one of her parents transition a while back, so she can relate to this." And Fitness IQ Cam, you're younger than us, so that's even more, can be potentially more of a challenge. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to have a show about that. We have to have a conversation about that. I don't know if maybe it's a black man and black women thing, or I think, yeah, just having that conversation, because too many times black women and black men get on a platform and it can be combative at times, but I think this is a family conversation
Right.
to have. So I'm going to be reaching out to Wayne. I'm going to reach out to Fitness IQ Cam and maybe some other people who are going through or have gone through that situation before. So Wayne, let's move forward. So, hey, there's a recession supposedly coming.
Yes.
Interesting. Yes.
Let's just walk right into that one. I can tell you that the information coming to me from our providers has been fairly consistent that sometime later in the year, after the second half, so after July, between then and the end of the year, supposedly things are going to slow down even more. And we're watching the American Central Bank and what they're going to do with interest rates, and Canada will adjust accordingly. Now, we do know that employment is still fairly high in Canada. So when you're in a recession, usually it's a lot of jobs lost, high inflation, and it's really, really bad. But we still have decent employment, but our inflation is still pretty high compared to what we were used to 2 years ago. Now, here's the good news. The good news is inflation is going down. It's right, 5.3% right now, and it's hovering. Is it going down? We'll see next month. But if it's going up, it's going up at a slower rate than it was going up before. So that gives me some good news that 5.3 is better than 8.3 a few months ago. Ooh. Unfortunately, food is still very expensive. Rents are still very expensive. Gas is still pretty expensive. So people are really, really feeling it. It is very, very tough to be in the major metropolitan areas of Canada and not making real money.
Right.
So let's talk about 1990. And the reason I choose that year is because that's the year I moved to Toronto. When I saw the Toronto Star, it was 3 inches thick, 14 pages of classified. It was unbelievable.
Oh, right.
So coming from Montreal, where we had the Gazette and the Montreal Star and no jobs, I came down here and they had signs on the grass saying, "We're hiring, we're hiring." Right. My first caravan in 1985, I couldn't believe it. It was, everybody was hiring. Think about Consumers Gas, Bell, all these big companies were hiring. And I went back to Montreal to finish school. And when I came back down in 1990, it was completely different.
Oh.
Bob Ray Days, social contract. Toronto had just come off of 18 and 19% interest rates for houses in 1989. It was really, really, really rough. I'm like, what happened to that 3-inch thick Toronto Star with all the jobs? There were still jobs, but it wasn't the way it was in the 80s. So I want to give you a couple of numbers to let you know the difference between 2023 or 2022, because we don't have the 2023 numbers yet, and 1990. Average house price in Canada, in 1990, $255,000. Okay. Average house price in Canada, 2022, $704,000. Okay. Average debt a Canadian was carrying in 1990, 135% of their income.
Okay.
Average debt in 2022, 182.6% of their income. Okay.
Whoa.
What was the income like in 1990? Average income in Canada in 1990, 57,133. Right? 57,133. Listen to this number. Average income in Canada 2022, 59,300.
Hold on, from 57 to 59?
In 33 years.
Wow. What are
Okay.
we doing?
But I want to add to that. If you take inflation into account, real wages have gone backwards.
1,000%.
That's true.
1,000%, Dr. Vibe.
But the houses are 500,000 more, and our wages have gone bumped 2,000. Whoa.
Check it out.
One other thing to win, I just want to bring to your attention. We do have some American viewers here, so I think it's even the same situation in the United States. Like I know we have Divine right from the DMV, and I have a very, very, very wonderful friend here with us today, Laura Lala Key, who is a realtor in the United States. Actually, she's now an international realtor.
Okay.
So one of the comments she says here is, "Oh, you better bet I'm watching the American market too. It's a roller coaster ride."
Right. Listen, America has 10 times our population. They have different banking rules. They have the ability to get a 30-year mortgage and lock it in. So there's no volatility. We can't get more than a 5-year mortgage, whereas an American can buy a house and have a 30-year mortgage. Ray McMillan and Lala can speak more to that, but depends on where you are in the States. Just like in Canada, where there's going to be more volatility and more room to buy at a lower cost. Like Texas is notoriously low cost. Florida, depending on where you are. Texas, depending on where you are. And Tennessee, because their tax regimes are in the favor of the buyer.
Gotcha.
I just want to update to some other things. Trevor Dunlop is saying serious stats. Also, Ray says I migrated to Canada as a young uni graduate in 1989. Walked into a depressing job market. Wanted to get on a plane and return back to the Caribbean immediately. Had to settle for a minimum wage job.
Exactly.
Ray said also 40-year mortgages in some markets now in the U.S. And Laura can verify that. I've been saying it for a while. Now I have to introduce Laura and Ray to each other. But Laura says, now they're pushing 40 years here in America. So verified in the US, 40-year mortgages.
Okay. So we had a 40-year mortgage, I believe in 2006, and they got rid of it really, really quickly because when you have 40 years to pay something off, you get a little cavalier because your principal, interest, and taxes could be much lower than a 30-year. So you buy more house than you need to buy. So we have a challenge here in the major metropolitan areas where people have variable mortgages. And again, Ray can speak to this. Those variable mortgages have gone up, some over $1,000 a month. And if people are on a job income where they're only getting a 2% raise, if anything. Right. Remember, inflation was 8.3%. You're getting a 2% raise. Well, good luck with that. It's better than nothing, but not really. So we have a challenge. What was the average rent in 1990? When I came down here, I lived in a basement apartment in Malvern. Shout out to Malvern and Malvern Town Center.
Yes.
All right, $400 in one room of a basement. Okay, $400. My rent for a 3-bedroom in Montreal for myself and my roommate was $360 for the 2 of us. I came down here, I had a room in a basement for $400.
Wow.
It was a friend renting it to me, a friend. Okay?
Yes.
Average rent in 1990, $689 for a 2-bedroom. Average rent in 2022, $1,779.
17.
Okay? So more than double. So I want you to think about it. A 2-bedroom condo in a better part of downtown is going to run you north of $2,500. Anybody who's in the real estate industry here in Toronto and you want to be in the heat, we're talking streetcars or subways, $2,500 or more for a 2-bedroom. Now, if average wages are still only $57,000, now the average wage in Ontario is $75,000. Okay, higher than the national average, because you take the people in the prairies and the people in the Maritimes out of the equation, the average is going to go up.
Right.
But our cost of living is second to none in the GTA. There is no place more expensive in Canada than living in the GTA. If you're 25 kilometers from the CN Tower, you are paying the maximum to live here, unless you're living in areas where you have co-op and subsidized rent.
Right.
Otherwise, you're paying the top rent in the country with no mountains and no water. Well, Lake Ontario is there. If you want to go in, God bless you.
Right. At your own risk.
You know, at your own risk. I mean, this is how superheroes are created. You walk into Lake Ontario, you come out glowing, and you become a superhero.
Listen, then you're gonna make some kids walk into the Lake Ontario. Disclaimer: that is not how you get superpowers. Just for the record.
Exactly. So we have a big problem here, because people who were in industries that thought they were safe found out during COVID that they weren't safe.
Right. Yep.
And there was a group of people, so we call them essential services frontline. And these folks here, your doctors, your nurses, your firemen, your policemen, right? Your certain people in construction, business as usual. Essential services frontline. Include the LCBO, the beer store, and all marijuana dispensaries. Okay? Essential services frontline. And they were doing just fine during COVID if they were willing to take the vax. Then you had essential services non-frontline, which is people like me, people like Ray. We can do business over Zoom. We can do business over the phone. We can do business by fax. We can do business by email. We don't need to be in front of our client kneecap to kneecap to transact business. And our industries boomed during that time as well, because I remember if I had a form that had to be signed and the person lived in Oshawa, I had to drive to Oshawa to get them to sign it.
Right.
Now I just sent a DocuSign, they DocuSign it back, and we were good to go. COVID helped accelerate that and change our industry for the better. So all financial advisors, benefited from the COVID moves that companies had to make. They were going to lose money or adapt to the digital age, and they chose to adapt. The third category of people were non-essential workers. And these were people who were small businesses, restaurants, and they just got decimated during the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, there was a group of people who were essential services, non-frontline. And these were the people in tech, the space I was in for 25 years before I got into financial services. And these folks were making money hand over fist. And you know what they were doing? Because they had high-speed internet, they were selling their houses in the GTA and buying houses 1, 2, 3 hours away from the GTA, A, to get away from the pandemic, and B, to have peace of mind.
Okay.
You no longer have to commute, right? So their company said, listen, we value your skills. And if you live in Muskoka and our office is downtown now, it's okay. As long as you can come on the Zoom call, you're good to go. Well, that all changed when Elon Musk said, everybody back in the office.
Yes. Oh man.
And then Facebook said, everybody back in the office. And then every other company started saying, hey, we're paying for all this commercial real estate in prime locations.
Yes.
And we want to fill these buildings up because we're paying for them. And you have a desk here. But then people are saying, well, I live 3 hours away now because I bought a place in Stratford. While there was a pandemic, I sold my place at top dollar in Toronto and bought a place in Stratford. And my kids now go to school out here. And my wife can stay at home because we dropped by 30, 40%. So we don't need to have 2 jobs and 2 cars now. We're living the dream. And now we have a problem.
Okay.
Because now they're calling these people, up to and including some of the biggest banks, are calling these people and saying you must be in office 4 times a week.
Yeah,
but they
total
made
shift.
massive lifestyle adjustments. And now they have to make a decision. So now, couple that with the fact that because people are fearing the recession, which helps cause the recession, because you start like a squirrel, start putting away your acorns for winter, then you cause winter to come because you're not spending, right? So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So guess what? Everybody's laying everybody off. No one's buying technology. No one's investing.
Ooh.
All right. So now Facebook laying off 10,000 people, Twitter laying off 5,000 people, Google laying off 18,000 people. These are people with real skills.
Yeah.
Data scientists, cybersecurity, everybody's getting a dose. Well, what do you do now? What do you do now? So now we have a problem. We're going into recession. We have no jobs. We have our packages, and our packages are going to end right in the middle of the next recession. Okay? And then we have in the fall, if you look at the rhythm of business, retail has a rhythm of the business. We know that retail between Black Friday and Christmas or Boxing Day, retail does 70% of its business. We know that people buy cars at the beginning of the year, the new car models, the beginning of the year. We know accountants have, during the busy season now, every business has a rhythm. Realtors and mortgage brokers will talk about the spring market, right? That's the rhythm of their business. They're not selling many houses in December and January, but they sell a lot of houses in March, April, May, right? Everything has a rhythm of the business. So we're going through an economic cycle, which is a part of the rhythm of the business of, how should I put it? The powers that be do a cleansing of all the people who they don't believe should be in their company. And if you're not for real, as Russell Peters would say, as Russell Peters' father would say, somebody gonna get hurt real bad.
Ooh, and we're seeing
this
it.
happens in a cyclical manner. And it's happening now. So what are some of the things you can do to protect yourself in what could be, and I'm not Nostradamus, what could be a recession coming this year? So when you know a storm is coming, they say you need to batten down the hatches. So we need to batten down the financial hatches. So what does that mean? It means that Canadians right now, and anybody on this call, ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, and put your number into the chat, please. 1 being, I have 0 concerns. 10 being, I'm very concerned about the financial markets and having financial stress in my house right now. If you could do a nice informal survey. 10 means you're stressed out about money, and 1 means you're good to go. Go ahead, Vibe.
Well, and I think a few things I want to add that also can include our American family like Divine Wright,
all day.
Laura Key, and also Dr. Tachi is here. Dr. Tachi, host of the livest online show about media, tech, and pop culture, Mediascope, on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. on Instagram Live, and then 6 p.m. they do Facebook Live. They do LinkedIn, they do YouTube, they do Twitch. So interesting. So let's get caught up on some comments. Christopher says rent is very affordable in Montreal, but question if the job market there is obtainable. Lala said peace of mind, priceless. She also said her spring market is loaded with a lot of distressed properties.
Okay.
Yes.
So if that's happening in the U.S., it's happening here. Now, the answer to your question, we're getting some varied information. So Laura says an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor says 1. And now if you're talking person, I can understand some people have more knowledge than others.
Mm-hmm.
Ray says 1. Sean says 3.
Okay.
Fitness IQ says 7 for the entire family. And if myself, then 5.
Okay. This is what I'm talking about. So
Nice.
these are the numbers that reflect that people are having a different situation depending on how prepared you are and how knowledgeable you are and how far below your means you're living. Okay. So we're going to have to take some costs out for some people. So some of the things you can look at doing are this. The cost of living is rising. We know this is inflation. We know that some people have childcare. Now, Trudeau's going to bring in the $10 childcare. Whenever that gets here, hopefully he's still in power when it comes, because it's not looking good for your boy. And if he doesn't make it, maybe that project doesn't come to fruition. I don't know if it has the ability to last past his mandate, but we'll see how he does. First and foremost, for anybody above a 5, well, for everybody in general, especially if you're above a 5, I want you to look at every debt you have. And when I say every debt, I mean every bill that comes into your house. You have Disney Plus, you have Amazon Prime, you have Netflix, you got Spotify, you have XM radio for your car. Maybe you want to make a mixtape, eh?
Yes.
Every car still has a CD player. You can make a mixtape and go to the barbershop and buy one of those, mixtapes and put it in your car. Maybe you want to slow your roll on some of these first world expenses that we take as fixed, but they're not fixed. Amazon Prime didn't exist 10 years ago. Netflix didn't exist 20 years ago, right? Disney Plus didn't exist 3 years ago. So we're spending money on things to appease ourselves and maintain our lifestyle that maybe we don't need. And if you have Netflix, maybe you don't need the gourmet Netflix. Maybe get the one with the commercials for $5 a month and work it out. Okay, so I want you to think about paying off your debt. That means you have credit cards. There's a couple of ways to do that. We talked about this in a previous show, but you want to get a strategy to get rid of all revolving debt as soon as possible, especially before September, October of this year, when it could get really, really, really bad in this country. You do not want to be paying 19, 21, 24, or for some of you with Fairstone and cash money loans paying 32%.
Hey, up to 50%.
Up to 50% on revolving debt. You don't want it. And if it's Leon's don't pay a cent, you were thinking about renovating your home, pump your brakes on renovating your home. If it's an investment property, it's going to bring you more rent, do your thing. But if it's your personal property, maybe you want to get a can of paint. If you want to do that, just declutter, sell some stuff on Kijiji, get rid of anything you don't need before September of 2023. And when you replay this in the future, they'll know whether I was correct or I wasn't correct. But all the pundits I listen to say, winter is coming financially.
Right,
okay.
Right.
All right. I'll just catch up here with the family here. Fitnet says, haha, exactly 3 for myself. The next few months are looking bright. Trevor says, let's get to Trevor. Come on. There we go. Trevor, 100% financial education is a must and should be started long before the lean years arrive. Laura says, Laura's been great this morning. Here we go. Scale. Pull out the 8 tracks again. Fitness IQ Gang goes, haha, Laura. Laura says herself, I'm scaling my extra services in real estate that are not producing. My 8 is tied to the real estate market. I've learned to squirrel my money. I like that term.
Okay.
Squirrel my money. Fitness IQ Camp goes, September, got it. Divine goes, Laura, I sell my albums and CDs. Let's go, LOL. And then Trevor and Ray goes, Trevor agreed. Financial education is a lifestyle. The economy is always cyclical. We can't go into stress mode at the bottom, but instead be prepared for the opportunities it presents.
Trevor is correct, and everyone's there. I appreciate your comments. I want to let you know that The biggest wealth transfers in the history of the world are happening right now.
Right now. Yep.
As the boomers and the pre-boomers transition, they're going to be transferring that money to their children. If all you know about money is what your grandparents and your parents taught you, you might be at risk of paying a whole lot more in taxes and fees and for consultants and experts than you need to, rather than just educating yourself on what is possible with that money. Remember, husband can transfer money to wife, no problem. Spousal transfer, tax-free. But from parents to children, the government is waiting with their hand out to get their money before your kids get the money. And there's ways to mitigate that. And you need to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing to make sure you're in position to make that happen. A lot of people are talking about the various tools to get that done. And one of the tools in the United States is a trust. The trust owns everything, and everyone's a part of the trust. When someone transitions, they leave the trust. When someone is born, they're born into the trust. You hear about these trust fund babies that live their life because they don't own anything in their own hand. The trust owns everything. It doesn't quite work the same way in Canada, and it works differently with different provinces. You're going to need a lawyer in Canada to get that done. I think you need one in the United States to get it done as well, but only for those people who have like serious assets. You're north of $1 million outside of your principal residence, then you want to consider, and you have multiple properties, this is something you may want to consider.
Okay.
Right? I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, but these are the two people you should be enlisting if you want to look at the transfer of wealth, especially if your parents are alive and you do not know if they have a will, living will, and power of attorney in place, because it will get really, really muddy really, really quickly without those three documents in place. You need to have a will, need to have a living will, need to have a power of attorney, and potentially a trust. Talk to your professionals. Okay. The other thing I want you to talk about is back in the day when March of 2020. What happened in March of 2020, Dr. Vibe?
Wasn't that the pandemic?
Correct. Little thing called a pandemic.
The long break.
Pandemic.
Yes.
Allegedly from Wuhan, but we don't know. We don't know for sure.
Multiple players.
Here's what I know.
Yes.
We had a pandemic. We shut down the economy, and people were crying, literally crying that they could not pay their bills 2 weeks after they lost their job.
Right.
A month was a long time. Trudeau came on and said, "Hey, I'm going to have something called CERB, and it's starting in May." Starting in May, right? May was 2 months after March. Still is 2 months after March. People could barely survive the 6 weeks between the announcement and when the first checks went out. That's how tight Canadians were. Most people are 2 pay cycles away from going bankrupt.
Right.
It's the proverbial living check to check. So I recommend that you need to put yourself in position not only to have an emergency fund, not only to have the, in good times, 3 months emergency fund. You should have 6 months of your expenses sitting in a tax-free savings account. That's a high interest savings account. You can't lose money in that account. And that money is there for a rainy day. And the rain is coming.
Right.
Okay? 3 months is not enough. The pandemic proved that. 6 months of emergency fund. Now you can have your other TFSA doing great things, and to do stock and crypto and all whatever you want to knock yourself out. But you need to have a TFSA where money is growing at 4% or better, that cannot lose money and will be there for you should something happen to your job, to your income, to you, right? I've seen people, the transmission goes. Now they're on TTC. Have you? I don't know. For those of you who still take the TTC, do you see what's going on down there?
Yeah,
it's getting wild. Yes,
it's the Wild West.
And they're cutting back service.
So if I have a choice, should I have the need to go into the city? I don't know if I'm taking the TTC, right? I just don't know because too many random things are happening too often for me. So I want you to think about 3 to 6 months of emergency fund. Start working on 6 months. But while you're working on 6 months emergency fund, I also want you to be paying down the debt. You need to be able to chew gum and walk at the same time.
Right.
Don't tell me you're going to pay down your debt and that's why you don't have your emergency fund. Do both. Right? Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more interest, but if something goes wrong, you will have the emergency fund.
So, Ray, for just updating here,
long-term savings for emergencies.
Just updates. So people who live outside Toronto, the TTC is the Toronto Transit Commission, which is our
public transit. Yes,
it's our public transit. I'm just going to catch up on some comments here. Laura says, or what your grandparents and parents did not teach you. Unfortunately, most Black families don't discuss money. Christopher says, thanks, Wayne. This is all encouraging. And you're right. It's time to be debt-free to add to your right. Cut back in spending, aka essentialism. Laura, bringing valuable information from the US. Yes, you need an attorney for estate and trust setup. I highly advise it. Don't do it. And don't do it. She learned the YouTube way. I think that's what
you're saying. Don't learn.
Don't do it the YouTube way. I couldn't understand. Don't do it the YouTube way. Yeah. Laura's also coming to Divine's right so they can listen to albums and CDs. Fitness IQ says they've been listening. She's saying these days 6 to 9 months these days.
Yeah.
To have Laura saved up, like reserves.
She's saying, Laura's saying wonderful info. Yeah, the stabbing stuff. That's what's going on a lot on our Toronto Transit over the last few months. Divine Right says, and I have a record player that plays cassette tapes. Oh my gosh. And roll back. And Ray says 2-income households should be able to live on one person's income. It's a good process to develop, helps us deal with financial corrections.
1,000%. 1,000%. When we bought our first house, we bought it under the assumption that if any one of us loses their job, we don't have to sell the house. We moved away from that, right? We have a tendency that as we make more money, we increase our expenses. There was a time when I was making $50,000 a year in my first job. I was working at the community center for the city of North York. Shout out to the city of North York, now the city of Toronto, before the mega city. I was working there and I was officiating basketball. That's 3 things, 7 days a week to make less than $75,000 a year. And I had to do those 3 things because my wife was getting laid off, like it seemed every year for one reason or another. Because she was not working in her field down there. She couldn't find work in her field. Then I got into technology and my income went up. And as soon as my income went up, I did what people who make money for the first time do. Went out and got the official car of the Black man, the Nissan Maxima.
All right. The
official car of the Black man.
The official car of the Black man, the Nissan Maxima. Nothing says you're making money at the club like rolling up in a Maxima. Right?
Yes.
Right? So I went and got a Nissan Maxima, got my wife a car, then upgraded houses, and then bought more rental properties and just started going crazy, looking at the top side, not looking at the downside. And have never gotten caught just because I made adjustments before the market forced me to do so. But let me tell you, when I think about what my children are going to have in terms of down payment, in order for them to get to live exactly the way I'm living now, for them to do the same thing is going to be crazy. So then, our boy, Trudeau, comes up with a new plan for people to buy houses because Canada, 65% of people own houses, and he wants people to own houses, right? Because when you own houses, you own debt. And if it's not an income property, right? And some people are too proud to put someone in their basement or buy a duplex, which is the only real estate people like us should be buying. And you want to have a palatial estate, Buy your palatial estate with the cash flow from all your investment properties.
Okay.
Ray, if I'm talking out of turn, tell me. But I trust me when I tell you, your first home should be a place where you can live for very low or for free because someone else is paying the mortgage.
Right.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So Trudeau came up with a new program. Let me see if I can find it here.
If you need some time, I can do some comments while you're finding it.
Yeah, do that for me,
Okay,
please.
so let's catch up some more comments. And again, family coming in strong. Christopher says, I also like what Ray Real Estate McMillan was saying earlier to buy already established homes. Hashtag businesses, sorry.
Yeah.
Divine Right, I agree, Ray. Just hoping that more people would understand this concept, living off of one income, bank the other. Trevor says, very true. Parkinson's law, I believe. Expenses rise to meet income. Ray says, I thought it was BMW.
I thought it was a BMW too. Yeah, BMW 3 Series, man. That was
every black man's wish. And then Trevor
Maxima is
goes,
good too, though. I like
all
that.
true. Oh, gosh. Did you find the information you're looking for? Yeah, Wade.
Yeah, I have it here. I'm looking at it. It's the first-time buyers program that the Canadian government came out with for April 1st. And they're giving you $8,000 that you can put into this and kind of acts like a RRSP. So again, this is only for Canadians on the call. The Americans, I apologize. But basically, there's a new program that allows you to tax deduct your savings for a down payment. And you can put $8,000 a year in up to a maximum of $40,000. And you can use that along with your RRSP and your other savings, TFSA or whatever, to buy a house. Basically, you cannot have owned a house in your name for less than 4 years. So 4 years or more, you're considered a first-time buyer again, and you can put $8,000 into this fund, get a tax deduction, and use this money strictly for buying a house. So it gives you yet another vehicle to buy a house. You have three. You have your RRSP. You have up to $35,000 that you can put into RSP and pay yourself back over 15 years, 1/15 of what was borrowed until you pay yourself back. If you don't pay yourself back, it becomes income in the year you don't pay yourself back, and you pay taxes on that money because they gave you it under the assumption that it was going to be tax deferred in the RSP. You didn't live up to your end of the bargain. It becomes income and is added to your income. But this first-time buyer program is great because it gives you more money to put towards a house, up to $40,000 plus $35,000 from your RSP. If you and your spouse do the same thing, that's $75,000 from your partner, $75,000 from you. That's $150,000 to put down within 5 years of this conversation. If you can do that kind of saving and you can put that on your property, and that's great. But what if you don't buy a house? What if you don't buy a house? Now it has to become a part of your RRSP.
Okay.
And what if you don't have enough room? What if you don't have enough room in the RSP? So I'm watching the program. It looks like a good deal. It's giving people more ways to hide money from the government so they can buy properties. And this is great. My challenge is if you don't buy a property and that money goes into your RSP, you've already maxed out your RSP, what happens? So I have to talk to the accountants and find out what's going on there. But for folks like Ray who are doing mortgages and any realtors who are on here, if you're selling real estate in Canada, know that Canadians have another bucket to add money to for down payments for homes. Okay. And there's other things you can do in terms of leveraging where you can borrow money to put in your RSP. And then when you put the money in the RSP, you can use the money in the RSP for a down payment on the house. And there's a process for that and timelines for that. But I would, if you're buying a house today with the interest rates the way they are today, that place better be cash flowing positive. Principal, interest, taxes, maintenance, or property management, after all those expenses, and that thing is still positive, fire in the hole. Go get it. If it's cash flowing negative, but it's an investment property, then it's going to reduce your income because it's a loss. So if you're upside down on your principal residence, there's no relief for you. But if you're upside down on an investment property, then you get tax relief. You guys familiar with that?
No, not at all.
So if you have your own home and you have principal, interest, taxes, and maintenance, and you're losing money, like basically you're in your property, and every month you are like it's costing you money. You got to pull money from your savings to pay your mortgage, which is what's happening now. There's no relief for you from a tax perspective. But if you have a second property, and that property is upside down, so you're bringing in $2,100 in rent, but it's costing you $2,400 in principal, interest, taxes, and maintenance. You have a $300 loss. That $300 loss, you should be able to talk to your accountant and get some relief on that loss on the rental, but not on the principal.
Right.
Okay.
Some comments and questions. So first things first, Ray says, correct, Wayne, referred to as house hacking. Have your tenants pay for where you live. One of the lessons my mentor taught me decades ago.
Gotcha.
Dr. Tachi, what's keeping you? I still need to book a call with Wayne. What's stopping you?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Long distance, man. Long distance. You don't want to pay. You don't want to pay.
Well, and just to put out there, Dr. Tachi, I hope things are fine with you, because for those who don't know, Fort Lauderdale was hit with about 20 inches of rain in a very short period of time. They had to close the Fort Lauderdale airport, and Fort Lauderdale is if it's not where she lives, it's close to where she lives. So hope everything is fine with you, Dr. Tachi.
Well, here in LA got hit with a lot, like 30 days straight of rain. Wild like that.
Lala says, Los Angeles came out with a dream program that gave up to $20,000 for home purchase. It ran out of funds before the first round was up. Wow. You do have to pay back if you sell your home.
Oh, okay.
Fitness says, I think an FHSA is very beneficial. Wayne, what is an FHSA?
It's a first-time homeowner savings account.
Okay.
That's the if I got that correct.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the program I'm talking about. So $8,000 more above and beyond your RSP, $35K above and beyond your tax-free savings account. You can use this account here in Canada as of April 1st. The banks are the first on it. Other companies will allow you to do it. The insurance companies are now getting themselves together so they can offer it as well. The difference between the banking system versus the insurance system for the money is that if the money is sitting in a bank and something happens to you, it becomes a part of your estate and increases your estate taxes. If it's a part of an insurance program, it is segregated from your estate and does not expose itself to tax or creditors or probate. So the insurance companies are coming on that right now. You can use your RRSP and your TFSA with a bank, or you can use them within an insurance company. If it's in a bank, part of your estate. If it's not in a bank, has nothing to do with your estate, and people won't even know your beneficiaries received the money because it's not public information like your estate is.
Okay. Good stuff. Fitness IQ says, I shorten it because it's a tongue twister. So that's why you gave us the letters. I hear you. Some questions here. Divine Right has, what's good advice on a household with limited income to try and save? Loss of job, part-time income, for example. What are your thoughts? And I think another thing I want to throw in is the whole world of AI impacting the job market.
Listen, don't even talk. Listen, I have made it my mission to understand how AI. We've had our first salvo was the robo advisor. Ray McMillan has seen over the last 10, 15 years where people will go to a website, they'll put in their information, and it will spit out lenders that will take their mortgage, right? So again, if you are in a standard, credit is good, your incomes are good, you check all the boxes, the robo advisor can take care of you. When you have nuance and you need a bespoke approach to what you're doing, you need to bring in guys like Ray, because Ray is going to know things that the bot that has to be programmed. Listen, ChatGPT only has information up to 2021.
Mhm.
Well, a lot's happened between 2021 and 2023. ChatGPT can't help you, right?
Yes.
ChatGPT will not know about a first-time buyer savings program because
Right.
it came on April 1st, 2023. So my advantage is my agility and my ability to handle things that are not cookie cutter. AI is going to handle the cookie cutter. The non-cookie cutter is going to require professionals.
The human touch.
And I'm a professional. So if
Mm.
I'm learning about my industry on a daily basis, yes, AI can learn what I'm learning. The AI might even be able to give it context, but the AI will not be localized, boots on the ground. It may know about Canada, it may know about Ontario, it might know about Toronto, but it won't know about my street in Toronto. That's where Ray and the realtors who know that area, localization of your intellectual knowledge is going to become more valuable. Global information, hey, I'll use ChatGPT to help me all day. But
Mhm.
localization, you boots on the ground. Think about this. It's probably the best example. AI is a travel agent. The individual professional is a tour guide. Do you see the difference?
Yep.
Right. Right.
Yep. Got it.
Travel agent
Perfect.
hasn't been there, but here's a brochure.
Yeah.
Tour
Yeah.
guide stayed in the hotel, took the bus they're telling you to take, knows the guy, Jaman, and he's the guy to
Yes.
talk to get the good jerk chicken. AI is not going to know that.
Right.
Okay. So if you are competing with, how should I put it? I don't want to be rude. But if your knowledge is rudimentary, general population consumption knowledge,
Mhm.
you're at risk. But if you're an expert and you're leveling up daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly in your field with people who are smarter than you and as smart, and giving you the context of what's going on out there, you'll be just fine.
There we go. I just have on the screen here for people watching live and read or replay. It's from the Business Insider. Great article. AI systems like Chat GPT could impact 300 million full-time jobs worldwide, with administrative and legal roles some at most risk. Goldman Sachs report says, and believe it or not, the greatest, and they cite a few reports in there, but the greatest propeller of the wealth gap over the last 15 years, automation. It is it
Oh,
it is
right.
it's reduced the number of people needed, but it's increased the wealth gap. So this is why what
Mhm.
Wayne is saying, you better get on the good foot now, because it ain't slowing down. It ain't slowing
Very
down.
so
Like,
true.
so that's why you got to get this information ahead of time from professionals like Wayne. If you want to do real estate stuff, professionals like Ray McMillan, because they give you that human touch. They ain't going to give you the GPT touch. They're going to give you the melanated touch.
Well, the guidance is key, and that's why I like that. The expert is more the tour guide or the Sherpa that has been up the mountain and now will take you up there too and get you back down alive. ChatGPT will just tell you how big Mount Everest is and kind of good luck.
Exactly. When the tour guide says, listen, if you go up this pass here, mans have died, eh? If you
Right.
go up this pass here, it will take a day longer, but you will live to see another day. When ChatGPT can do that, let me know.
All right.
Yes.
More questions. We're in bonus time. Are you okay for another few minutes?
I'm good.
Wayne?
I came on late, so go
No
for it.
problem. Thank you for. So Christopher has a question. Curious, the emphasis is to invest into these financial outlets, RSP, and tax-free savings, but the reality is you have to pay this money back or else. Do you think we need to encourage folks to also have liquid cash?
Yeah, great question. The registered plans are designed to protect you because the government's backing them, right? So this is good. You have the Canadian Deposit Insurance Corporation that's going to back your investments up to $100,000. Which bucket you choose to put it in, Chris, is going to be dependent on a couple of things: your risk tolerance and your time horizon for when you're going to need the money. So if you're in your 50s or 40s and You're not going to need your RSP to 65. You have a very long time horizon, 15, 20 years. We can do something with that. We're not putting that in there to buy something tomorrow. And if you already own your home and you've already done the first time buyer program and all that kind of stuff, your RSP is going to be there for retirement. So we're going to think long term for retirement. If you have a TFSA, I suggest you have multiple. One that has a high interest savings account. You can get over 4% from me, from some of my different providers. That money is for rainy day. I've been laid off. The fridge died, the transmission died, the roof is leaking. The money will be there because there's no market exposure to a high interest savings account. You will also have your other TFSA that will be on another time horizon and another risk tolerance, because it's supposed to be a tax-free investment account. It's not for everyday buying groceries and getting a deal at Loblaws. The tax-free investment account, aka savings account, and they named it the savings account because Stephen Harper wanted to call it the investment account, but they were saying, oh, it's only for the rich, only the rich invest, the poor don't want to invest, So they changed it to saving, and people are trying to use the TFSA as a checking account. It's not for that purpose. It's for long-term savings. So your time horizon on your long-term savings is going to be different than your time horizon for emergencies and your time horizon for day-to-day living. So my TFSA is not used as a checking account. I put money in, and I forget the money's there, and as long as the money's growing and beating inflation, I'm good. I leave it in there. Mm-hmm. So you're going to need different buckets with different time horizons, with different risk tolerances. Talk to your financial professional. There's one right here on the screen if you're looking for one.
And there's the contact information that's been there for a while too. Also, yes. Finance IQ Chem, Woo AI. Christopher says, so yes, sports fan, we are smarter than AI for now. Dr. Tachi, this is up her wheelhouse too. Yes, ChatGPT cannot do what is hyper local. She also says that GPT cannot take many jobs, but it can be used as a tool to start research. Ray says AI is great, but there is a whole segment of consultancy interactions that AI cannot participate with at the moment and possibly never be able to. Folks need to realize that and create value. Trevor says there are critically important information you just explained, Wayne. Everyone needs to hear this. Absolutely. Divine Right, yes, 300 million jobs. Go read the article. Fitness IQ says TFSA, you don't have to pay back any money unless you don't use it correctly after it's after tax money.
This is correct. Just don't over contribute to the TFSA, because if you over contribute, the money is taxable beyond your limit. If you were 18 years old in 2009, you have the ability to put $88,000 into a tax-free savings account, and you can have multiple as long as the aggregate of all those accounts is $88,000. What you earn in that account is tax-free, and when you take money out is tax-free. If you take money out and want to put it back in, you cannot put that money back in the same year you took it out, because you'll be over-contributing for that year.
There you go. Ray says, Wayne, thanks for breaking down the limitations of AI. So folks really need to understand that and remove the emotional knee-jerk reactions. Hashtag the sky is falling. Right. Tim Frey, a gentleman who knows a lot about this world. Artificial intelligence has to be around as tools for corporations has been around as tools for corporations for decades. We should be careful and not confuse AI as an entity when we talk about it. It's a tool only. And also so I think he corrected that. All right. So we're up to date.
Here's a careful point. Sorry. Here is a point for the melanated people. AI, based on what I've asked it over the last little while, has not been loaded with the information that covers the diaspora. So if you ask AI about things from a perspective of the culture of Antigua, the culture of Dominica, the culture of Jamaica, the culture of Barbados, AI, unless it's been loaded with that information, will not be able to respond to you.
Okay.
The people who are loading AI are loading AI with what their version of the truth is. And if that version doesn't include the people who look like us on this screen, that information will not be a part of the database for AI to search in. So when you ask certain things, AI will say, oh, this is getting too racialized, this is getting too whatever, and it will stop, which means I know which colonizer is loading that data into the database. Right. So if you can put in esoteric things about the diaspora and AI can answer, good on AI. But someone has to know those esoteric things to let AI know where to pull that information from. It's only as smart as who can input the information so it can output that information.
Good point. Good point.
Absolutely.
Mr. Harris, anything else for today? You're on fire.
Bro, it's good to be back. This is the first time on the other side, like I said. And knowing that, knowing how hard my father worked, knowing how hard life was for him, growing up, living in Montreal. Canada was his third country. Barbados to America to Canada. And at the time, in the 60s, Montreal was the place to be. It was what Toronto is today, 50 years ago. The only reason Toronto is even anywhere near where Montreal was back in the day, the reason Toronto is what it is today is because of the separatist movement in Quebec.
Yep.
If there's no separatist movement in Quebec, Sun Life is still in Montreal. RBC is still in Montreal. Bank of Montreal is still in Montreal. Bank of Montreal is in Toronto. Right? That's how much the separatist movement hurt Montreal and continues to hurt Quebec. But what I can tell the people is this: the tools are available to you. The first-time buyers program, brand new April 1st. Look into that. The tax-free savings account been here since 2009. The RSP since the 80s. The RESP since the mid 60s. We have the tools available to you, but that's just on the asset accumulation side. What I want people to consider, especially dealing now with the passing of my father, asset preservation should become more prevalent in your thinking. It's not about just making the money. It's how is the money going to be affected by inflation, and how's the money going to be affected by tax and by fees of the government. And fees are just another word for tax.
Yep.
Okay? So how are you protecting yourself with the tools that are available for you? So everybody consider that it's not the violin, right? Mortgages is the violin. Financial education and financial services is the violin. What you need to look at is you need to look at the violinist. Ray McMillan is a violinist, right? He's a savant when it comes to money for real estate. You want to engage him, right? We have people on this call in the United States who are savants. They're the violinists you're looking for. Everybody has a violin, eh? ChatGPT is just a violin. The violinist is what you want to look for. And that's going to be your competitive advantage. And that's what's going to keep you from being dismissed by the robots. Because the robots have been coming, they've been saying that since the 80s. Right? So whether robots are coming and the robots are here, if you can do things that add value beyond what the robots can do, you will be insulated by that value. And that's your only protection, is how much value do you add to the marketplace that you say you want to serve, and what's that market worth?
Solid.
Done.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, well, family, I purposely kept Wayne's contact information up for most of this conversation. And even those people down south, yes, you can contact him also. If he can't help you, he can refer you to someone down in America who can help you. So, Dr. Tachi, the clock is ticking on you now. You said you haven't contacted me yet.
Right.
The clock is ticking. So just some final comments here. Finance IQ Cam says, check your CRA account to see your contribution limit for RSP and TFSA. Dr. Vibe and Knight, very educational and uplifting. Well, all of you make it that way.
Definitely.
We need to expand the show. Yes. Have ideas? Come talk to us.
Yes.
Christopher Lawrence also says, Sir Wayne, keep up the brand work. Sir Wayne. I like that. Sir Wayne.
Yes.
And then Hayden Moore says, best analogy of AI ever. Thank you, Hayden.
Yeah, that was good.
And of course, FitNance puts EYL. Well, we're gonna Yes, we know EYL is that, but EYL hasn't done much for Canada yet. Finance. I thought you were their brand ambassador.
All right.
And then Laura and this is a US posse saying so valuable. Thank you. So coming from Laura is a wonderful lady. Actually, you can see her with her and Jill Jones and Aisha K. Staggers on Friday nights when the talk isn't as civil. Let's just put it that way. Wayne, as always, thank you for taking the time to share with your family is in our thoughts continuously. You see, you have a family here whenever you come on. They're all wishing you the best. But I know you want to say to them, if they don't got their financial house in order, the best thing you could do is talk to him, even if it's a conversation.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. Because like I said, I tell a lot of people, hey, the financial people I talk to, get your debt down. Whatever you can do, get your debt down. You know, that is so key. So Wayne,
thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you, Ryan. Great day. Absolutely. Have a great weekend. The weather out there is like Barbados, guy. Get outside.
Go for a walk.
Absolutely. All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Another great conversation today.
Yeah, that was good.
Again, I'm keeping it up for a few seconds. The contact information. This episode, I kept it up for most of the conversation. So no one had to choose, oh, you took it down too fast. This, that. No, it's there. It's there. So Dr. Touch, as I said, the clock is ticking. And also, I haven't reached out to you yet to come back on and give your update on the world of media. Monday, we have Divine Right on. So one of our regular contributors has asked to come on. So she's going to be on Monday talking about book self-publishing your book, etc. Her upcoming book. Ryan, what's going on with you this weekend?
This weekend, the Durham Region Association of Black Entrepreneurs is doing a financial literacy workshop tomorrow, Saturday. So if you're in the Durham region, I believe it is in Pickering. So if you want to check that out, I'm going to be posting about it. But yeah, the weekend is going to be pretty light. What else is happening? I think, it's going to be light. How about yourself?
Pretty light also. Just hanging around the yard and not doing too much. Got some, Divine says, yes. We're looking forward to Monday too also. Yes. Trevor, thank you for a great conversation, gentlemen. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Thank you to everyone, especially if you caught it live. And even if you caught on the replay, we appreciate you. Bring us other friend suggestions, people think we should have on the conversation. I think that's it. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and the Ryan O'Neill platform on YouTube and LinkedIn. That's it. That's all. I think the weekend is going to be coming soon. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and we will catch you Monday. Divine Right. DMV going to be in the house on Monday morning. DMV. All right. Take care, family. See ya.